Welcome to the campfire. Take a breath. Feel the warmth of the fire, the gentle crackle of wood turning to ash. Let your thoughts drift like smoke into the starlit sky. Tonight we begin at the very beginning, before gods, before time, before anything at all. Let the silence speak. This is the first tale in our Norse Mythology series, a story whispered in the dark, shaped by fire and ice, echoing through the void. This is the story of how everything came to be. Chapter 1. The silence before all things, before the world, before the stars, before even the whisper of wind. There was silence. Not the gentle quiet of a forest glade, nor the hush of snowfall beneath twilight skies. This was a deeper silence, vast, eternal, empty. There was no land to stand on, no sky to gaze into, no breath to draw. There was no life, no death, not even the passage of time. Only Ginnungagap, the yawning void, a gulf beyond thought or form, stretching endlessly in every direction. It was not darkness, for there was no light to contrast it. It was not cold, for there was no warmth to lose. It was nothing. And yet, from that nothing, everything would one day arise. To the north of Ginnungagap, in the reaches of what would become known as Niflheim, mists began to gather. There, the breath of frost thickened into swirling clouds. Ice formed in jagged sheets, and the rivers of Elivagar flowed slowly, churning with venom and rime. Cold beyond comprehension, Niflheim was a realm of mist, shadow, and silence, one of the first. To the south, a different force stirred. Muspelheim, a realm of flame and fury, where fire danced wild and unbound. Here, heat roared across the endless expanse, and sparks leapt like living things into the void. It was a place of light and motion, of radiant fire so hot it could burn even the air, if air had yet existed. Muspelheim was ruled by Surtur, the fire giant, who stood watch with a burning blade, wreathed in flame. He was ancient even in the beginning, a being born of flames, hunger, and destruction. Niflheim and Muspelheim, ice and fire. They stood apart in the vastness of Ginnungagap, opposing and eternal. Neither realm knew of the other, neither sought the other. They were not enemies, nor friends, they simply were. But the void does not remain still. Ginnungagap was vast, yes, but it was not inert. And slowly, slowly, the breath of Niflheim drifted southward, while the heat of Muspelheim reached north. Where the frost met the flame, where cold mist and burning spark mingled, the silence broke. Drops formed in the air. They sizzled, hissed, and steamed. And from those drops, something new began to stir. Not yet life, but the shape of it. The tension of two opposites meeting, the impossible union of fire and ice, had awakened a change. This balance was delicate, fleeting, but in it, the seed of creation had taken root. The silence had been broken, and in the heart of Ginnungagap, the world began its slow, ancient breath. Chapter 2. When Ice Met Fire. From the north, the chill breath of Niflheim stretched its fingers across the void. Here, there was no warmth, only the endless flow of the Elivagar rivers, streams laced with venom, thick and slow, their currents freezing as they wandered. As these rivers spilled outward from Niflheim's core, their waters hardened into ice, layer upon layer, reaching ever closer to the center of Ginnungagap. Above them, mist hung like a veil. Heavy and still, it blanketed the frozen rivers and shrouded the land in a dense, ghostly fog. Ice crept like time itself, slow and consuming. This was a realm of stillness, of bitter cold, of shapes lost in frost. Far to the south, another realm stirred with restless energy. Muspelheim. Unlike the slow, creeping cold of Niflheim, Muspelheim was alive with motion. Fire leapt in wild arcs, illuminating the nothingness with an angry glow. Waves of heat shimmered in the air, and the sound of distant roaring flame filled the silence. At the heart of this blazing world stood Surtur, the first of the fire beings, wreathed in flame, his great sword glowing with molten power. Though the world had not yet formed, Surtur waited, as if he already knew the part he would one day play in its end. But that tale lies far ahead. For now, only the fire and ice mattered, two ancient forces, never meant to meet, and yet, drawn by some quiet stirring in the void, they did. Where the frozen breath of Niflheim reached far enough, and where the searing winds of Muspelheim answered, they met in the middle. There, in the heart of Ginnungagap, the frost began to melt, and the fire, tempered by the cold, did not burn it away completely. Instead, something remarkable happened. The ice cracked, it hissed, steam rose in thick coils, and from that mist, born of contrast, of conflict, of harmony too brief to hold, came a shape, a figure, the first being, Ymir. He emerged slowly, limbs unfolding from melting ice, his skin pale and glistening like stone wet with dew. He was vast, even then, his breath heavy and thunderous in the silence. His form was not shaped by love or design, but by tension, the inevitable result of two opposites pressed too close. Ymir was a Jotun, a frost giant, neither god nor mortal, neither fire nor ice, but a creature of the gap, of Ginnungagap itself. He did not speak, he did not think, but he moved, and from his body came more life. As he slept, Ymir began to sweat. From beneath his arms, new giants were born, twins, vast and strange. His legs, touching together in the warmth of his rest, gave rise to yet another son. This was not creation as humans would know it. It was not planned, not purposeful. It was primal. Life spilling forth from life, unasked, unshaped, ungoverned. From Ymir, the race of the frost giants began to spread. They filled the void slowly, step by step, mist clinging to their limbs. They were strong, chaotic, and immense, children of a world still finding its shape, children of a being born in the crossroads of destruction and creation. Ymir was their forefather. He drank from rivers not of water, but of ice. He dreamed in the silence of Ginnungagap, as fire and frost continued their uneasy dance. He did not rule. He did not build. He simply existed, a living echo of elemental tension. But he was not alone. For in the ice, another form stirred. A great cow, Audumla, emerged beside him, her body also carved from the melting frost. She was vast, serene, and nourishing. From her teats flowed 4 rivers of milk, and Ymir drank deeply. Thus the great cycle began. Ice meeting fire, giving way to life. Life giving rise to more life. All of it fragile, all of it inevitable. Yet even as this strange harmony took shape, change lingered on the horizon. The silence had cracked, the balance had shifted, and nothing, once created, can remain unchanged. Chapter 3. The Cow and the Salt of Stone. In the silent grey of Ginnungagap, life stirred not just in chaos, but in calm. Alongside Ymir, vast, slumbering, ever-growing, another being emerged from the melting frost. From a place untouched by flame, born instead from gentler streams of thawing ice, came Audumla. She was no ordinary creature, for this was no ordinary world. Her hide shimmered faintly with the breath of mist, and her hooves made no sound against the frozen earth. Audumla, the primordial cow, mother of sustenance, bearer of milk. She had no mate, no pasture, no herd, yet she lived. From her teats flowed 4 rivers of milk, warm, rich, and endless. They curled into the void like white streams of moonlight, nourishing Ymir, who drank deeply in his dreamless sleep. Without Audumla, Ymir would have faded, his strength lost to the cold. But she sustained him, patient, eternal. And though her presence seemed gentle, she too was bound to the deep magic of creation. Audumla needed sustenance as well, and so she turned to the stones around her, ancient rocks rimed with ice, their surfaces crusted in frost and salt. Slowly, steadily, she began to lick them. Each pass of her tongue was a rhythm against time itself, a heartbeat in a world yet unborn. On the first day, something stirred beneath the ice-crusted stone, a shape, faint and formless. On the second day, a face began to emerge, stern and still, eyes closed in waiting. On the third day, the full form stood revealed, a man, strong of limb, noble of bearing, silent, yet not asleep, not a giant, nor a beast. This was something entirely new. This was Buri. He stood tall in the mist, not born, but freed from the stone by Audumla's care. He did not speak. There was no need. His presence was enough. Buri was the first of the gods, the first spark of order in a realm ruled by chaos and cold. From Buri came a son, Bor, whose origin was as mysterious as his father's. And Bor, in time, took as his mate a Jotun woman from Ymir's line, a daughter of frost and ancient blood. Her name has been lost to time, but her legacy would shape the very bones of the world. Their union brought forth 3 sons, Odin, Vili, and Ve, 3 brothers, 3 sparks of divine will. Where Ymir's children grew wild and many, children of chance and sweat, these 3 were born of intention. They were not merely strong, they were aware. Odin, the eldest, was the thinker, the seeker, the one whose gaze pierced even the shadows of the void. Vili, the second, bore the fire of will, creative force and raw determination. And Ve, the youngest, was the shaper of word and form, the breath behind language, the echo of meaning. Together, these 3 would come to see the chaos of the world not as home, but as something to be carved, to be transformed. But that tale is yet to come. For now, the world stands at a threshold. On one side, Ymir, whose children sprawl uncounted through the mists, vast and primal. On the other, Odin, Vili, and Ve, young gods with minds not bound by hunger or slumber. And between them, the memory of Audumla, who licked a god from stone and fed a giant from her endless rivers. In this quiet before the storm, the balance still holds, but creation is a wheel already in motion. And soon, someone must decide what to do with the world that is waking. Chapter 4. The Death of the First. Ymir was the first, but he would not be the last. From his sleeping form had spilled a lineage vast and unnumbered. The frost giants, or Jötnar, wandered the mists of Ginnungagap like shadows given flesh. They were wild and mighty, echoing their ancestor in shape and spirit, born of ice and chaos, thriving in the silence between flame and frost. Yet in time, others walked the void. Odin, Vili, Ve, born not of ice, but of intent, of god-blood and frost, sons of Bor, grandsons of Buri, the first to look upon the world not with wonder, but with purpose. They watched Ymir with wary eyes. He was vast, unmoved, a mountain of breathing stone, yet within him pulsed the rhythm of unchecked life. His descendants grew without shape or reason. Wherever he lay, the world bent to him. He was not creator, yet all had sprung from him, and that the young gods could not accept. Odin felt it first, the weight of what could be. Vili agreed, the fire in his chest restless, and Ve, quiet as wind through frost, saw already the shape of something new. Ymir was not kin. He was a storm unbroken, a threat to what might come. So the brothers acted. With blades forged of will and strength drawn from their bloodline, they approached the sleeping giant. There were no words, no warnings. The old world would not pass itself away. It had to be ended. They struck, and the world shuddered. Ymir cried out, and the sound echoed through Ginnungagap like the first thunder. His blood poured from the wounds, a torrent so vast it drowned many of his own kin. The oceans were born that day, salt and red, endless and deep. His flesh became the land, rich, dark soil that would one day bloom with life. His bones rose as mountains, jagged and cold, scraping the heavens. His teeth became stones, his hair the forests, and his great skull, they lifted it high, carving from it the sky itself. 4 dwarves were placed beneath it to hold it aloft: Nordri, Sudri, Ostri, and Vestri, north, south, east, and west, pillars of direction in a world just beginning. They took sparks from Muspelheim and flung them into the sky, setting them as stars, markers of time, of motion, of memory. And from Ymir's eyebrows they formed Midgard, the realm of man, a circle of safety in the center of all things, a barrier between the known and the unknown, the gods and the giants. It was a place of balance, a place of breath, yet it had come from death. Creation was not born of kindness, not of harmony. It came with sacrifice. The first world came into being not as a gift, but as a consequence. The cost of change was blood. And so the brothers, now makers of the world, stood amid the bones of the old, their hands stained, their hearts changed. There was no going back. Odin looked to the sky they had hung. He wondered what it meant, to make something so vast from what they had destroyed. Vili felt the wind pass through the mountains they had raised, and knew the shape of will. And Ve whispered a name for this new place: Midgard, the middle enclosure, the dwelling of mortals, the space between gods and giants, flame and frost. It would not remain untouched. But for now it stood, and above it the skull of Ymir cradled the stars. Chapter 5. The 9 Realms and the Roots of the World. From the bones of the first giant the world took shape, but it did not end there. For the cosmos is not 1 realm, but 9, woven like threads in a great tapestry, each layered in meaning, purpose, and place. At the center stands Midgard, the world of men, ringed by ocean and girded by the bones of Ymir. It lies in balance, between realms of shadow and light, between the ancient fires of Muspelheim and the silent mists of Niflheim. Midgard is the threshold, the bridge, the fragile line between order and chaos. Above Midgard, high and bright, rests Asgard, the realm of the Aesir gods, home to Odin and his kin. Its halls are vast, its towers gleaming, its skies streaked with stars born from flame. It is a place of power and pride, where gods watch the worlds below and ponder fate. Far beneath, in the colder roots of the cosmos, lies Niflheim still, older than breath, older than memory. Its rivers of venom still flow, and in its deepest place, the dragon Nidhöggr gnaws at the roots of the world tree, waiting. Muspelheim lies opposite, ever burning, never resting. Surtur still waits there, his sword hot with the fire that will one day end all things. That realm is not forgotten. It is merely biding its time. Alfheim, the realm of light elves, delicate, radiant beings who dwell in beauty and brightness. Svartalfheim, home of dwarves, deep beneath the stone, where forges glow and secrets are hammered into steel. Vanaheim, the old realm of the Vanir gods, kin to the Aesir, yet older in magic, closer to earth and water. Jotunheim, wild and vast, where the remaining giants walk, still fierce, still watching. And Nidavellir, some say a separate realm, others say one with Svartalfheim, a place of craft and fire and stone, all of them held, cradled, bound by Yggdrasil, the world tree. Its roots stretch into the darkest wells, Urdabrunner, Mimisbrunner, and Vergelmir, where wisdom, fate, and primordial force stir in eternal depths. Its branches arch into the skies, beyond stars, beyond sight. Its trunk binds the realms together, a spine of existence, its bark etched with runes older than language. The Norns dwell beneath it, carving the fate of gods and men. Each day they water its roots with sacred waters and white clay, keeping it alive. The tree groans sometimes, not with age, but with the weight of what it knows. Balance, then, was never simple. Fire still burns, ice still creeps. The gods may build their halls and shape their laws, but the old forces wait. Midgard trembles quietly, a bridge between forces too vast to hold. And balance is never eternal. Chapter 6. Odin's Gaze. And so the three brothers shaped the world. From the bones of Ymir they built the land. From his blood they poured the seas. From his skull they carved the sky. And from his mindless fall they drew meaning. They placed the sun and moon in their courses, set times spinning in the air, and gave names to things that had never been named. Mountains rose, valleys stretched, rivers cut through stone. The world took form beneath their hands, and it was beautiful. A strange, raw beauty, the kind that grows from something earned, not gifted. They shaped Midgard as a sanctuary, a boundary between realms. They saw in it the potential for more than giants, more than gods. It would become a home for a new kind of being, not born of ice or fire, not made from the clash of chaos, but something else, something still waiting to be formed. When all was built, the three gods stood upon the earth they had made. They looked out across the wide sea, up toward the stars they had cast, and down into the depths where Ymir's blood still ran cold and deep. Vili, filled with the joy of will, smiled and spoke of what could come. Ve, ever the whisperer, named things as he saw them, weaving meaning into the air. But Odin said nothing. His eyes were turned elsewhere. He saw the beauty, yes, the symmetry, the fire and ice held in trembling balance. He saw the mountains they had raised, the stars they had scattered, the breath of wind between trees that had never before known breath. But what he felt was not pride, not joy. It was longing. There was something missing, The world was shaped, but not complete, not alive. Odin gazed beyond the horizon, toward the stars that even gods could not name. He looked down to the roots of Yggdrasil and wondered what lay coiled in the dark. He listened to the silence that still hummed beneath the song of creation and heard questions. Why this world? Why now? What came before the frost and the flame? What truths lie hidden in the waters beneath the roots, in the well of memory, in the well of fate? He began to seek, not with hands, but with thought, with hunger. Odin did not yet have his throne in Asgard. He had not yet hung from the tree. He had not yet cast his eye into Mimir's well. But already the need was there, the unshakable ache to know, not to conquer, but to understand. He would give anything for that, and in time he would, because the world, though shaped, was incomplete. Creation was a beginning, not an end, and Odin, more than any, felt that truth burning in his bones. He would become more than a god of stone and sky. He would walk paths none dared, sacrifice what none would offer, drink from wisdom deeper than language, bleed not for glory, but for knowledge. That story lies ahead. For now, the world waits, the stars turn, the tree stretches high and deep, and the All-Father watches, always watching. Now, the fire burns low. The story, like the night, draws to its quiet close. The embers crackle softly, fading into silence, and the world we've shaped tonight returns to mist and memory. What does it mean to build a world from death? To carve harmony from the bones of chaos? To strike down the first life in order to create the many? And what of the gods? Is wisdom worth the weight of sacrifice? Is power enough without understanding? When does creation become destruction? And can they ever be truly apart? These are questions only time will answer, or perhaps only dreams. So breathe deep, traveler. Let the weight of the tale settle gently around you. The void is quiet once more, and the stars above Midgard shimmer softly with old light. Perhaps next time we'll find some answers. But for now, sleep. Rest well, and may your dreams wander far, like sparks on the wind.